to today's webinar. Today's webinar is all about the fundamentals of the Agent DNA and what the Agent DNA means. Now, I, of course, am Bruce Hill with the Agent DNA Coaching, so I'm the founder of the real estate coaching program, the Agent DNA. And today, we are going to be operating out of a workbook that looks like this. It's several pages long. If you do not have this workbook, that's no problem, especially for those of you who are going to watch this webinar later. I will be linking the workbook into the comments underneath of the YouTube video, the Vimeo video, underneath of wherever you are downloading this webinar. Now, for those of you who've joined me, you should be able to get that link in the comments, and I'll give you guys a second while I talk about a couple of foundational things that we need to understand before we really dive into the webinar anyway. So make sure that you grab your workbook. It looks like this. And let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing to really understand is what DNA and what following this roadmap that I'm going to lay out for you is going to do for you and your business. And the biggest thing is it's going to leave a path or create a path for success. Now, a couple of quotes that I really enjoy on success go like this. Colin Davis said, "The road to success and the road to failure are almost exactly the same." So we all get up every single day and we fall into these rituals and routines and habits. And those rituals and routines can either lead us to success or lead us to failure. And from the outside looking in, that person may not be able to tell why one person fails and another succeeds. But from the inside, you know that just those small little tweaks and adjustments that you make to what you're going to understand is your DNA after this class will lead to success. Okay. Another thing is success is simple. You do what's right. You do it the right way. You do it at the right time. Arnold Glasgow said that. You do what's right the right way, and you do it at the right time. And I'm going to show you exactly what some of those things are. So if you are a new agent, great. If you are experienced, amazing. So I've been in the business for 16 years now, as of the time of this recording, which is the year 2000. I've sold well over 1,000 homes. I didn't start successful though. I started as a struggling agent for multiple years, not multiple months, multiple years. I was one of those agents that just couldn't quite get the hang of it. I was always good enough to get a few deals, but not good enough to really, really succeed. And on the outside, people thought I was doing great. Inside of my business, I was selling a couple of homes a year. I was barely making ends meet, and that's because my wife was working, and I was working a part-time job bartending, which there's nothing wrong with that while you're figuring things out. You see, a lot of people come across success naturally. That just was not me. My first year in the real estate business, I sold one home. It took me 10 months to sell that home. Made $2,700 on that sale. Year two, I sold 6 homes. I barely did that, and I eked by. I was a super young guy back then, so I eked by, and I thought I was doing okay. Year 3 was about the same. Year 4 was about the same. It wasn't till year 5 came around that I started to discover what some of these traits were. And at the time, I didn't know it as DNA traits. This has come to me late in my career, and so I say all that to say to you, if you are experienced agent, don't tune this out as just foundation pieces that you learned a long time ago, because it took me probably 15 years to really truly understand what these foundation pieces were and understand them as the DNA of a successful business or the DNA of a successful real estate agent. Now, multiple years ago, I had a best friend of mine, and this was after I was doing well in real estate. And my best friend name was Mark. And one day Mark called me up and he said, "Hey, I want you to come over, have a drink with me and my wife tonight. I'm going to make a couple of appetizers at the house. We're just going to hang out. It's been a couple of months since we've hung out." And this guy, you have to realize, we were best friends from basically childbirth. We were born a couple of months apart. Our moms were best friends. We spent all our time together, grew up, stayed friends through high school, through college, into our professional careers. And at the time, I was about 7 or 8 years into my real estate business. And he was 7 or 8 years into the business that he was in. And he called me up knowing that I was an agent in his town and knowing that at the time I was pretty successful. So I drive over to his house, and as I pull down Mark Street, I look ahead and I see a real estate sign in the distance. And I said, oh no, that can't be Mark's house. That has to be one of the neighbors. I get closer and closer. I start to realize that real estate sign, which was not mine, was in Mark's yard. Okay. So, it was almost devastating. Of course, I rationalized it and I said, some stupid real estate agent put their sign in the wrong yard. So how many of you have ever had that happen? I've had that happen before, put my sign in the wrong yard. I've seen it happen before. So I just wrote it off and said, somebody put their sign in the wrong yard. So I park my car. I walk up to the front door. I knock on the door. Mark comes to the door. And I was like, hey, somebody put their sign in the wrong yard. I probably ought to call that agent. And he's like, no, we listed our house. And Mark's wife, Stacy, comes to the door. And then she's like, isn't it great? We're so excited. We wanted you to be the first person to know. Kick in the gut. So I start to fish and dig in and ask them. And I realized that a few days later, they'd gone to an open house. And the agent at the open house said, hey, you know what? If you buy this house, I'll give you a deal on the listing. So they walked into an open house. They go under contract with that agent on that house. She lists their house. Total kick in the gut. Since then, I've had that actually happen for me on the other side. And you have to realize that our audience frequently, our best friends, our family members, our neighbors, people that we know well and think would use us, simply don't recognize us as a professional who they value. And it's all because of the DNA that we are showing them. So let's go ahead and dive into the agent DNA. And as we do this, I want you to understand that this agent DNA is going to be a framework. Everyone has a little bit of a different style and unique skill set and relationship set. So this is a framework. This is not a blueprint for your business. It's a framework for you to follow. And then the blueprint, you're going to create some of that yourself after you have the correct frame for your real estate business. So let's jump over and discuss what is your DNA. So what is your DNA? A couple of things, and this is going to be on the third page. So if you're following and you count, this is page 1, page 2, if you're following along and you count this as page 1 and then this as page 2, and then this is page 2 where we talk about what to expect. We are going to page 3 with a little image of a DNA man up here. Okay, so what is your DNA? Your DNA, person, that we're talking physical, real DNA. This is science, and just stick with me here for a little bit while I walk you through the science so that you can really understand where we're going when we get to your business. So your DNA is made up of 5 molecules. Each strand of your DNA has an identical sequence, and it's duplicated trillions and trillions of times to show me you. Okay, so what's that mean? In real life, you and I, when we touch something, when we drink out of a glass, when we brush our teeth, whatever we do, every encounter that we have with a physical object or our hair falls out, some DNA is left behind. And that DNA in our body is made up of the exact same 5 molecules with an identical sequence, trillions and trillions and trillions of times. And when you build it out like that, That's how I recognize you. That's how you recognize me on this webcam right now. Okay. Now, your neighbor has the same 5 molecules, just with a slightly different mixture of those molecules, but they're always the same in every single human being. Okay. So that's your DNA. And after you've duplicated it many times, I get a picture of you and you get a picture of me. The next thing that our DNA is, it's the building block of our life. So one single DNA strand isn't going to show me you. It's just a building block that's going to, after duplication, show me who you are. Okay, so what else is DNA? DNA is the fundamental and distinctive qualities of someone or something. It's the fundamental, and I like the word distinctive, qualities of someone or something. And I say distinctive because, again, you don't have the exact same mixture of molecules that I have. You are unique. Okay, you're unique. And we're going to show you why this is important when we get into the business discussion here. Another thing, DNA is the clue that you leave behind with every physical encounter that you have in life. So every time you touch something, every time right now it's March 2020, and we've got the coronavirus going around. So everybody is worried about whether they're going to pick the coronavirus up from droplets from people sneezing or touching things, and then they touch it. So those are clues that are left behind with every single physical encounter. Okay. All right. So that's what DNA is. All right. Now let's start talking about what your agent DNA is. So that's what physical DNA is. Let's talk about the DNA that you build your agent business on. Your DNA is also, your business DNA is also made up of 5 development molecules, and it's duplicated. Those are duplicated trillions of times to show others your business. Okay, so just like your physical DNA is made up of 5 molecules that are duplicated trillions of times to show other people you, your business DNA or your agent DNA is made up of 5 simple molecules in your business, 5 simple things that you do in your business every day that you duplicate trillions of times over. And after that's done, it shows other people your business. All right, next thing, agent DNA. It is the building block of your real estate business. So you're starting to recognize that the last slide actually almost copied word for word, because I want you to see the correlation between what your real DNA is and what your business DNA is, and how they're almost the same. If you approach them the same way, they'll do the same thing for your business that they've done for your physical person. Okay. What else is your agent DNA? Your agent DNA is the fundamental and distinctive quality of your real estate business. So the fundamental and distinctive quality of your real estate business, it is what sets you apart from the competition. So if you perfect and develop the proper agent or business DNA, and your competition does not, then you are 100% going to set yourself apart. And I guarantee you, of the currently in 2020, 1.3 million realtors in the country, in the United States, no idea what it is worldwide if you're watching worldwide, but the US, it's 1.3 million realtors. The overwhelming majority of them have no idea what their business DNA is, what it needs to be, and there's no way that they're going to be able to keep up with you in your business if you go to work on developing your business DNA. So your agent DNA, it is the clue that you leave behind with every single business encounter in your life. So any encounter that you have, if there's a real estate discussion or you look what are doing these 5 things, you are leaving clues behind. Okay, now clues for the average person don't really cut it. So normally one simple clue that's left behind by you saying, hey, I'm a real estate agent, I can help you with your buy or sale. That's not going to stick because it's one simple clue. But if you begin to pack and put this DNA pattern together in your life on a daily basis, you will leave many, 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 many clues behind that your audience can pick up, and they can form a valid opinion of who you are, what you do, what profession you're in, and why they should trust you over the competition. Okay, so your agent DNA is going to be the clue that you leave behind with every single business encounter that you have in life. All right, so why does your agent DNA matter? Why does your agent DNA matter? Jim Rohn said it best, and I believe that this is probably one of my favorite quotes of all time. It's many times attributed to Tony Robbins, but Jim Rohn actually said it first. He might have stolen it from someone else, for all I know. But the quote is very simple. It just says, "Success leaves clues." Okay, so success leaves clues. If you are leaving clues behind as that lead someone to actually trust you as their real estate advisor and that person that they refer their business to and use, then those clues also lead to success. Okay, so those clues lead to success. If you leave enough clues, I promise you are going to be successful in your business. Whether that business is selling 10 homes a year, 20, whether that business is running a team that sells hundreds of homes a year, whether that business is growing a brokerage or recruiting, put the right clues together and leave them enough times, and they always lead to success. A lot of times that success that you have that is leaving clues doesn't actually come until you've left the clues. So the clues almost really lead to the success more than the success leaving clues. Okay, you need to leave the right clues first. I'm going down a rabbit hole here. All right, so let's move on. If you don't have the business that you want in life, okay, if you don't have the business that you want in life, you are either leaving the wrong clues or you simply haven't left enough clues. Okay, so if you're not experiencing growth in your real estate business, if you have best friends named Mark who are listing and buying a house with someone not you, it's not Mark's fault. You're either leaving the wrong clue or you simply haven't left enough of those yet. That's not Mark's fault. That's not your neighbor's fault. That's not your family member's fault. That is your fault for either not leaving enough clues or leaving simply the wrong ones. Another thing that we know about not having the business that we want is the agent DNA that you leave as your business clue will be unrecognizable if you don't include the proper mixture of the 5 DNA molecules. Okay, so now there are 5 essentials of your agent DNA. All right, now if you're following along in the workbook with me, this is where we're really not going to fill anything else out for the time being. In your workbook, I'm going to talk about these traits of an agent DNA. But in your workbook, as you guys move on to the next pages, we're going to go into a bit of a test or a quiz for you, and it's going to start with a page that looks like this. All right. What we're going to do is I go through these 5 molecules that you have to have in your business for it to be successful and for you to have the appropriate agent DNA. I'm going to ask you with each one of these to give yourself a score of 1 to 10. 1, when I tell you what this element of your DNA is, 1 means that, man, I'm sucking. I'm not developing this, or I have not paid any attention to it, and it's really weak. 10 meaning You've given great attention to it. It's strong. Okay. And so we're going to give ourselves a score. Now, here's the big thing. As a coach, I'm not coaching you for where you are. I'm coaching you for where you want to be. So I want you to think about next year and think about where you want to be versus where you are now. So let's just take a hypothetical number. Let's say you're an independent agent that sells 2 houses a month right now. Next year, you want to get to 36 houses or 48. My question to you is, your DNA, does it line up with where you are now, or does it line up with where you want your DNA to be? If you're a team leader and you are selling 150 homes with a team of 4 or 5 agents right now, and you want to get to 400 or 500 homes with a team of 10, does this DNA line up with where you are now, or does it line up with where you want to be? So that's how you're going to score yourself, is based on where you want to be. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the 5 essentials of your agent DNA. The first part of your agent DNA that is an absolute must is you have to have a map. Most of you guys can probably see over this shoulder here that I've got a map in the background over my main desk. Here's the big thing. The map is not the territory. That's a famous NLP quote. I don't know who said it, but the map is not the territory. So just much like I said that we're creating a framework in the beginning of this webinar, and a framework is not the blueprint, the map is not the territory. So the map is basically what shows you the activities that you should be doing every day, but it doesn't actually create the conversations for you, and it doesn't actually elicit robotic responses from the people that you're communicating with. But you can't even get the response from the people you're communicating with, and you can't even get the referrals and the business coming in if at least you don't have a map first. One of the things that I offer basically everybody that wants is a one-on-one free, no sales pitch, no obligation opportunity to sit down and create a 1-year and a 90-day business map with me. And that map essentially kind of identifies the areas that you are focusing, that you don't need to be focusing, and also identifies the areas that you're not focusing, that you need to be focusing on, and gives you daily activities based on the map that will take you to your desired result. It's somewhere over here. I can't find it right now. But if you want that, please just connect with me either right after this webinar, or if you're watching this after the fact, there will be a link to be able to connect with me and get on the schedule and get that free coaching call in the comments below or the text copy around this webinar. Okay. So your map is really one of the most important steps to start with, because you can have everything else lined up, and if your map is wrong, you might end up heading in the wrong direction or getting yourself into a lot of trouble by creating a business that is not fulfilling. So get the map first. All right, now what's the map all about? Your map should be a 1-year plan. Okay, so a single year plan that basically outlines the daily and weekly activities that you should do that will lead to that single result. Okay, the other thing that the map does is you're going to take shorter portions of the map, and basically we're going to call those your sprint portions, or what I like to call a 90-day sprint. For example, right now in my personal business, my 90-day sprint involves putting together a number of these webinars, recording them, and getting them onto social media, YouTube, Vimeo, various different platforms. And that's my sprint, is to create a number of these webinars. Okay, so do you have a sprint in your business? Is your business only waking up and prospecting, showing houses, listing houses, doing the day-to-day activities of a real estate agent? Or have you broken out sprints in your business where you can work on your business and doing things that can last for the long run? Okay, so those are the 2 things we're going to score ourselves on. We're going to score ourselves on the 90-day sprint, and then you're going to score yourself on that 1-year business plan with daily and weekly activities that lead you to the result that you want to get to. All right, so next, we're going to develop an audience. I'm noticing right now that the way that this is currently set up, we started with motivation first on here. I'll get to that in a second, though. So second, you're going to develop an audience. Okay, audience, vital to real estate business. You could have a great message. You could have amazing marketing. You could have a good map. You could have great motivation. You could have everything that we're going to cover here in a little bit. But if there's nobody to listen or hear what you have to say, nobody that can trust you, then your business isn't going to go very far. So when it comes to developing an audience, we want to score ourselves on two different things. We want to score ourselves on the engagement that we have with that audience. Okay. So are they hearing you consistently? Are they engaging with you? Are they trusting you? Okay. So what's your engagement like? Do you have a whole bunch of people on your Facebook page that you know, but you never really talk to them? Do you have 1 million people in your phone that you never talk with? As a matter of fact, I'm going to get on a soapbox here really quickly. Most of the time when I go through the business plan with people, agents, they share with me how strong their sphere of influence is. I'll have agents that say, yeah, I have a sphere of influence with 250 people. And I go, great, where's your list? Okay, this is super fundamental. I realize how fundamental this is, but I'll say, where's your list? And they'll go, well, I have all these contacts in here on my phone, or I'm friends with all these people on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever the platform is, but it's not anywhere. And this kind of ties your audience and your map together. There's no way to appropriately communicate with your audience if they're not consolidated. You don't know what your last step with them was and what your next step with them is going to be. So get your audience onto a list, and then we can work with how and when you're going to communicate different types of messaging to that audience. I'm going to get ahead of myself if I'm not careful. So what's your engagement like? Give yourself a score. And then next, what's your audience growth like? Now, if you haven't noticed so far, with each one of these, and we're going to do it with all 5 of the elements, there's 2 parts to each element. Okay, so 2 parts. In total, we're going to have a score of anywhere between 10 if you're really bad at all of it, and 100 if you're really great at all of it. Okay, so 2 elements to every single business molecule, so to speak. So what's your audience growth like? Is your audience growth strong? Are you meeting new people weekly, monthly? Are you adding them to your database? Are you being introduced to new people daily, weekly, monthly? If your audience has been at 100 for 2 years, then you don't have a growth in your audience. If you're getting leads, you probably have growth in one element of your audience. But do you have growth in the sphere of influence portion of your audience? If you do have growth in the sphere of influence portion of your audience, do you have growth in the leads and the number of people that are following you through marketing? Okay, so score yourself on how your growth is. So give yourself a score 1 to 10 on growth. Next thing that we're going to go into is messaging. I could say this is the most important thing with every single one of these points, but this is one of the most important things. They're all important. You could have a great audience, and if the words that you use don't compel them to use or refer you, then your business falls flat. Okay, so we've got a map, we have an audience. Assuming we have an audience, do the words that you use compel them to use or refer you? Do the words you use compel them to trust you as a vital, valuable expert in real estate in their life? Okay, so your messaging really kind of covers 2 fronts here. It covers the direct words that you use. It also covers the advertising words you use if you're marketing or doing anything like that. All right, so let's work on perfecting our message as part of one of the 5 keys to building your perfect agent DNA. Now, what we're going to score ourselves on with messaging is we are going to score ourselves on the message that we use that compels people to use or refer us, and then we're going to score ourselves, secondly, on the message that we use when we're face to face and actually in the appointment. In the appointment. When you go on a buyer appointment, do you leave with a signed buyer agency agreement? When you go on a listing appointment, does everybody sign with you? So how is your messaging? How's your presentation? Is it put together? Do you have a presentation? Do you know what you're going to say to an investor versus a traditional buyer? All these things are important. So give yourselves a score on that. And obviously give yourselves a score of 1 to 10 on how your just overall communication is going. Do you know what to say and when you're going to say it? If you meet somebody new today, do you know how you're going to find out about where they live? Do you have a strategy in a way that if they were thinking about selling their house tomorrow, that you would be able to get an appointment with them this afternoon? If you don't, or you need to perfect it, don't give yourself a 10. Okay, so messaging, vitally important. Next, we're going to check our motivation. This is actually first on the test here, so I skipped ahead of myself a little bit. You're going to check your motivation. You've got them out. You have an audience. You have a message. What happens when you wake up in the morning? Do you have the habits and the rituals that are going to carry you to success if you don't feel motivated? Because truthfully, we're not all going to feel motivated. One of the things, I have a personal coach, and my personal coach has really been working with me on this. I have some habits and rituals, but some days my motivation and lack of motivation just trumps the habits and rituals. So first, score yourself on the habits and rituals. Are they the habits and rituals that are going to take you to the success that you dream of next year and the year after that? Or are they not? 1 to 10. Now, if sometimes your motivation just isn't there and it's hard to even do the habits and rituals, the next thing that you need a really good why. So you need a good vision. And by that, I look at your why much differently than most coaches look at your why. Most coaches tell you, if you have kids, that's what your why is. It's not what your why is. We have an entire exercise for that on figuring out your why, so that when your motivation just isn't there, you always just do the right thing because you know exactly why you're doing it, what is driving you. Okay, so you're going to give yourself a score there. Now, if you look at DNA, okay, I've got a down in the bottom right corner, I have a little DNA man there. Okay, and inside of that, you have your kind of your ladder rungs inside of a DNA strand, kind of that double helix. And then those are actually 4 different pieces, just like your map, your audience, your message, your motivation are the 4 pieces that are the ladder rungs. But you have to have that helix that is almost makes a partial 8 to hold everything together. So let's assume you've got a great map. You know your daily activities. You're working toward your big goal. You know the next steps that you're going to take. You have an audience. You have people that are listening to you. You have a clear and concise message that compels people to use you and refer you and follow you if you don't know them yet. You're motivated. You have a strong why. You have habits and rituals that are going to take you to success. Next, the rungs, not the rungs, but the rails that hold everything together is developing and promoting your brand. And I don't want to give it all away, but I just finished with a group talking about your brand. We went into this class, and most people in that class didn't understand what a real estate professional's brand really was. Most of us think of a brand like a logo. A logo is great. We all need one. You need to have a logo. All right. Most people think of a brand as a logo, and it's not. Your brand is twofold. When you are in a service-based business, okay, if you're not a real estate agent, you're listening to this applies to you. As a matter of fact, all of these apply to you if you're not in real estate, but I'm talking to my real estate audience now. So if you're in a service-based business and you don't make money if you don't get someone to trust you and sign up with you, then your brand is not about your logo. Your brand is about how you make people feel, number one. So they have to feel good and like you. Okay. Number two, they have to value you as an expert that can get them where they want to go faster than they can do on their own. Those are the only two things that go into your brand. What do you make them feel, and do they value you as an expert? So those are the only two things that you're going to put into your message to create that brand. I have multiple friends. I network a lot, and I have some friends in the financial field. And I have one specific friend that I've said this about, and I hate it. If these guys are watching this, they're all going to wonder who I'm talking about. I'll never give the secret up, but I can remember a few years ago talking about this person, and I used this exact language. I told the person I was talking to, I said, you know what, so-and-so, I love them. They're one of my favorite people in the world, but I would never trust them with my money. Okay. Love, but no trust. So they had one half of the brand that they needed with me. And I would be willing to bet that the majority of agents out there are loved and liked, but not trusted. So when we go to work on your brand, we want to work on both of those things. Some people are trusted, but not liked, and they probably lose a lot of business as well. So we want to go to work on both of those things. Now, when it comes to branding, what you're going to score yourself on is not the love and trust aspect. You're actually going to score yourself on your overall brand. Is it recognizable? Do people know what you do? Do you have a brand in your community? And then you're going to score yourself on how you promote that brand. Do you have a good marketing system set up that's going to carry that brand to the community? Let's just assume, here we are, everybody's all worried about getting sick right now. Let's just assume that you got coronavirus and you went down for 3 weeks. Would your brand survive? Would your marketing be able to carry your brand while you were sick? And if the answer is no, then your marketing is probably weak. Okay, so now you pretty much know where that score is going to be. So those are the things that we're going to score ourselves on. These are really important. If you get these 5 elements of your agent DNA built, systemized, and perfected, and you work on them every single day, you are going to be leaving recognizable clues. You're going to duplicate them millions and trillions of times over, and people won't be able to help but do business with you and refer business to you. You will build up such an amazing following because you've concentrated on these 5 things. And in my opinion, these are the only things that a business owner, especially a real estate agent, should ever worry about focusing on. There's all these other things, tons of things in our business that are major distractions that pull us off of these 5. If you focus on these 5 and you do them every day, you're going to be in really, really good shape. All right, so let's talk really quickly about how the agent DNA can help your business. Don't turn it off because I'm going to offer you some really good value here. Okay, number 1, free DNA masterclasses. All right, free DNA masterclasses. This is one of the free DNA masterclasses. This is the foundation masterclass. I have 8 additional masterclasses currently built. I don't offer them every week or every day. I offer them every month. And I want you in these masterclasses. There is no charge. All I need you to do is sign up. And I'm going to put the link in the comments so that when this is over, you can do that. If you're watching it after the fact, I'm going to have it in the copy around the video, or I'm going to have it in the comments under the video. Sign up for free DNA masterclasses. What we do with each one of these, and they're still being built, so there probably will be way more than 8. We are going to take each one of these elements. So let's just say it's branding, and we're going to have an entire masterclass specifically and strictly on branding, if not 2 masterclasses on it. Okay, so these are going to be really good. You're going to dive in and start to really build each one of these things out. Second, a free DNA strategy session. So this is that business map that I was telling you about. It's going to be linked below. You want to book that free strategy session. It lasts anywhere from 35 minutes to an hour, depending on who you are, what you need. No charge, no sales pitch. If you decide to hire me as your coach afterward, great. but I'm not going to push that. I want to get you moving in the right direction. So those are two absolutely free things that I want to give everyone who's watched this video. Next, weekly group coaching membership. So this is an Agent DNA Mastery membership. And what we do, knowing that it's kind of hard for me to teach you everything about branding in one single class, or everything about your message in one single class, on a weekly basis, we break down and get into the nitty-gritty details and elements of each one of these parts of your DNA, and we perfect them. Now, this is not free. However,